2 good episodes.
I think so. Does that mean they're going to be terrible?
I know. That means they're going to be awful and we're going to watch it back and be like, well, fuck it. We're washed up. Welcome back, marketing nerds of the world. It's time for another episode of HAMYAW. And today, Margot and I are actually getting into a topic we get asked about actually pretty much nonstop. It's around this, literally constantly, around this idea of personal branding. But the question we always get asked is, you know, I don't think I'm funny enough. I'm not really irreverent. I'm not really loud. Like, can I build a memorable brand? And I think where a lot of people go wrong when developing their personal brand, figuring out the messaging strategy and kind of notes they want to hit, they either feel like they need to be like hilarious, noisy, over the top, like in your face, or they feel like they have to be really uptight and kind of conservative and professional and buttoned up. And those are kind of the two extremes we see people vacillating between. And the truth is what you should be looking for is much closer in the middle of the two. But most importantly, it's about what's authentic to you. And I know Margot has a lot to say about this. So Margot, take it away.
Well, can we start with the fact that I so relate to this question?
Yeah.
Every time I was on stage a few weeks ago, whenever this airs, that I got this question from a lot of B2B companies where they were like, I am in this really, really conservative industry, and like I don't understand how to be myself and like how to do the branding stuff where we have like a playful tone and I don't know how to make jokes. And I was like, putting my expert hat on, it's easy to answer the question, but then I open Twitter and I'll see like, oh my God, Val guys are so funny and Hillary's so funny and everybody's so funny. And I was like, I don't have anything interesting to say. Like, what can I say on Twitter?
That's what I say about you to everyone I meet. I'm like, Margot, yeah, not very interesting and not very funny, but she's got great hair. So she makes an excellent co-host. Come on, woman, give yourself a little more credit.
I'm putting that on my business card from now on.
Excellent.
Listen to me, but the hair game is
Go on.
But it's fair. It like gets in your head. Like you start to think because it's natural. We're human beings. We want to fit in. Like belonging and fitting in is built into our DNA. And so we kind of, without even knowing it, sort of take stock of the room we're in at all times. Yeah. So sometimes that room is Twitter. Sometimes that room is the internet. And we look and we're like, how are we supposed to behave here? Okay. What are the norms? What are we allowed? And so often when you hear people like us say things like dial it up to 11, and by us I mean Hillary, because I totally just stole that from you.
Me.
But like, what does that mean if you're not big and outgoing and really playful? I mean, you and I were sort of born, we have the opposite problem where we were told to like keep it small and shut up and not be so loud. And so it's been a real release for us. But some people are, you know, we have a lot of introverts that follow the show. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people who have, well, you're human beings. You have complexity and nuance to your personality and a lot more than necessarily humor and laughter. And I think the point, at least for me, of how I interpret this question is you got to lean into you. Mm. And that is scary because it makes you vulnerable. It means you're going to be seen. And that's the part that's more interesting to me. That like, if you're introverted and you're into books, then like dial that up, like be into books. If you're into photography, if you have observations about, I don't know, chapstick, then like write those down. I don't care. But like not being afraid to be the you that's a little weird, I think is more what we need.
I think also we need to clarify when I say turn it up to 11, people think volume. And that is in some instances true. Like literally this whole show, we made a joke about how loud our voices are with Hillary and Margot yell at websites. This is just how we talk. We're not actually yelling. But no, when I say turn it up to 11, and when we talk about this in the branding space, when people talk about amplifying, it's not about noise or like volume. It's about energy. It's about where is your focus going? What topics are you talking about that are really meaningful to you? What are you sharing that's maybe a little outside of the norm of your industry, but is incredibly important and energizing and exciting for you? And this is why in my statement piece framework, this is why I talk about the 3 statement piece scenarios and having people examine what they're really for and really against. And often that doesn't need to create a lot of noise. What it does is it creates a connection. And that's an energy thing more than it is a volume thing, more than it is a humor thing. And there's so many different things you can do with your brand to be memorable and stand out than just like making penis jokes in your email list, like some people I know, or like posting silly memes on Facebook. You know, there are so many different things that you can do that are outside of the realm of humor and also outside of the realm of being, you know, hyper conservative and buttoned up because you're afraid to rock the boat. So I think it really is taking stock of figuring out what you are most interested in and what also you're bringing to the table to your brand and your profession that has always been a part of you. And this is something I talk to my students about. It's something I've worked on a lot in my brand. It's something my mentor taught me. My mentor, Sarah Onkomo, is that you look around at your life and there are things that you have always done and things that you've always been naturally good at and things that you've always gotten comments on that leak into your profession, whether you want them to or not, because it's your gift. It's what you do naturally. Yeah. And for me, in my case, that was not necessarily the noise, although that has been helpful. That's why I have the statement piece brand, is because I was always wearing a statement piece of jewelry. I'm always about communicating through my style and through my mannerisms and communicating who I am by my word choice, by my clothing, by my jewelry. Before I even talk to somebody or have a conversation, I want people to know something. And I think that's why Statement Piece Studio became the new face of the brand, was because I was like, I want to help people do this for themselves. And my statement piece is not always like a huge necklace. Like I have a tiny ring that says boss. I have this beautiful engagement ring that I wear constantly that says I'm very engaged and awesome. But it doesn't always have to be loud, is what I'm saying. It just has to be clear, and it has to be something you're excited to share and talk about. Yeah, it has to be you.
It has to be you. Like, I think part of what gets so hard about this is often this is invisible to us. So like, it is really easy for other people to tell me what's unique about me. But when I'm sitting there by myself in my room trying to like write out my brand plan, it's really, really tough to see. And so that's why I think using other people is helpful for this conversation. If the personal brand, for sure. But I love what you said on clarity about what you stand for. Because I think people don't do that. Like, this is where the personal and the professional sort of intersect, because we are sort of taught that there's a separation of church and state, and that this doesn't have anything to do with the other and no one cares. And I have found that to be absolutely untrue. There are so many of my readers who connect with me on the things that are really random. Like, I really like the video, The Get Up, and it just makes me really, really happy. And I mentioned it in a small email, and for no reason other than I was like, if this email was not interesting to you, here's something that might be, because it just made my day smile, and your day should smile too. And it was the most clicked on link, right? Like, it's just people, you know, people are people, and we are all multifaceted, and it's helpful to anthropomorphize your brand, but also to humanize you if you are the brand.
Yeah, building the connection. And I think a lot of solopreneurs forget that when they think about, like, I need to build a personal brand, they think of it as something outside of themselves. Like they have to build a persona. It's not a persona brand, it's a personal brand, guys. And it has to be personal to you. And thank you, that was a good one. TM, trademark pending. But no, I think it's really, really vital for people to all, in a lot of ways, I think entrepreneurship and personal branding is a really radical form of self-expression, because it is essentially learning how to make money from your gifts and straight up personality. It's a little different from branding around like being an artist or a musician or a painter or something, where you have your art to kind of speak for itself. When you run a business, it's a totally different art form, totally different way of kind of making money. And it's a really wonderful opportunity to explore what's meaningful to you and learn how to share it and find your community that way. It's been a huge gift to me as somebody who was often noisy and on the outskirts of a lot of things in life. Now that I'm on the inskirts in a lot of ways, it's mostly because I've been able to connect with people who resonate with what I have to say and what I'm interested in. Probably not the loudness of my voice that draws them in, but rather the weird things I tend to talk about, the transparent nature of my writing and my work, and the work we do here together, and just building a place where people can see themselves. It's not about who you're making laugh or who's making the most noise. It's about how people can see themselves reflected in you and feel connected to you that way.
Yes, I love that. And that it's why we say personal development is so connected to developing your brand. Like, if you don't know yourself, then this stuff is not going to work, because you're going to end up building a facade, and it's a house of cards, and then it falls apart. Because you are having to maintain that so much. I think another approach, if it's not a personal brand, but you are a brand, if you're like working in a company where you're like, God, I really want to humanize this a little bit more. One, you can work with a team on that and developing the voice and what that sounds like. The starting point, I think, is with your customers, because often they will tell you what they want to hear, and they will speak in the way that they need to be spoken to. And so I get this question a lot from like people who are at technical companies, or so they describe themselves, like SaaS or something, like, we target developers. I always ask them, I was like, well, are developers human beings?
No.
Like,
Duh.
that's a weird question. I'm like, yeah, exactly. It's a weird question because like, it doesn't matter if it's a technical subject. There's a human being on the other end of it who has thoughts and feelings and dreams and hopes and all of the things that you still need to address. You just make the jokes within that, or you make the references or the in-group dialogue, jargon, the lexicon all needs to be reflected in the way they talk to each other. Reddit exists. Therefore, technical people are talking a ton.
Those are facts. Those are facts. I also want to double back on a point you made on Twitter, I think, where you were like, everyone's talking about human-focused marketing. Who the hell else is marketing for? I was like, boom, mic drop. It's so true. And it's everyone's like, we speak human. It's like, yeah, all right. But like, I want you to speak connection. I want you to speak intrigue. I want you to speak camaraderie. Yes. And I want you to speak like deep understanding. Fuck speaking human. I speak human, you know, and whoever on the street speaks human, but it's really about having to build that connection. And we have about 1 minute. So I want to just remind you guys that if you're wondering what you do between being funny or being really buttoned up, there are so many different things you can do in between there. You can share, you know, irreverent observations. You can share what you're really for or against. You can be a really strong, powerful luxury voice. You can actually be a really calming, chill, laid back brand that really resonates with people. There are so many options outside of being loud and funny. And I want you to take some time this week to study the brands that intrigue you most and think about the qualities that draw you to them. And chances are it's not because they're loud and silly. It's because they have other things that are making you feel pulled to them.
Oh my God, I'm going to do that this weekend. I love that. I love that. I'm definitely going to do this, and maybe I'll even post about it in the comments. And if you guys do this assignment, post about it in the comments. We will talk about it with you. We both love to see what brands you come up with, what you see in those brands, because that is likely what you see in yourself. So I am Margot Aaron.
And I'm Hillary Weiss.
If you like this video, please like it below and share it with your friends. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, guys.